if you don't have something nice to say, you don't say anything at all. I will share, he was not happy towards the end of the series. And so that affected everything.
For 37 years, Ed O'Neill and Amanda Bearse barely spoke. She didn't invite him to her wedding. He didn't understand why. She said she feared he wouldn't take two brides in tuxedos seriously. He admitted later that she was right. That tension lived underneath every interview, every convention panel, every question about the old days. Then something happened at the reunion that no one saw coming. A moment that spread across every corner of the internet.
The invitations went out, and I didn't get one, and neither did David Faustino. And now we weren't arguing.
Some fans cried watching it. Others said it was too little, too late. But everyone had an opinion on what it meant. Amanda Bearse entered the world on August 9, 1958, in Winter Park, Florida, a place that had been shaped long before her by wealthy Northerners who built a quiet resort town in the 1880s. The town had a gentle calm to it, with lakes, citrus groves, and carefully planned streets. Families who lived there carried old traditions, and Amanda grew up surrounded by that mix of Southern warmth and polished restraint. This world felt far removed from the one she would later chase. Yet something in that quiet upbringing helped her notice people and moods in a way that would matter once she stepped onto a stage. As she grew older, that small town began to feel too still for someone who wanted movement. So when her family moved to Atlanta in 1976, she followed with a mix of nerves and hope, carrying all her Winter Park memories into a city that buzzed with bigger energies. That move came right when the country was celebrating the bicentennial. So everywhere she looked, she saw reminders of change and new starts. 18 felt like a fragile age, but the shift from Florida's sunshine to Georgia's faster rhythm pushed her forward. Atlanta in the late 1970s was growing quickly, offering more voices, more traffic, and more opportunity. Amanda kept moving with her family, but in her mind, she had already started imagining how far she might someday go. This new city placed her just a little closer to the future she wanted, even if she didn't clearly see it yet. Her education became its own winding path. She tried Rollins College first because it was close to home and carried a long history dating back to 1885. But something about it didn't settle right inside her. Then she tried Birmingham Southern College in Alabama, hoping another setting would click. But that wasn't the final stop either. She found her footing only when she reached Young Harris College in the Georgia mountains. It was small and quiet, nothing like the big city world she dreamed of. Yet it gave her the space she needed to finally earn her Associate of Arts degree. Each move between colleges showed something about her spirit. She wasn't drifting aimlessly. She was searching for the place where her mind and ambition lined up. That search eventually carried her to New York City, a place that didn't wait for anyone. She arrived determined to study with Sanford Meisner at the neighborhood playhouse. Meisner had trained stars for decades, teaching actors how to respond truthfully instead of forcing emotions. He had taught legends like Robert Duvall, Grace Kelly, Diane Keaton, and Steve McQueen. And Amanda walked into his studio knowing she was entering a lineage filled with giants. The technique he built was all about listening with the whole body and letting reactions rise naturally. Under his guidance, Amanda learned how to strip away self-consciousness and trust the truth of each moment. It changed her as both an actor and a person. While she was building her craft in New York during the early 1980s, she also lived her personal life with honesty, even when the world around her demanded silence. She entered a relationship with Sandra Bernhard around 1983. The two stayed together for about 2 years, and their connection eventually caught the attention of tabloid media, who tried to expose Amanda's sexuality in 1991. The truth was that she had never hidden who she was from the people who mattered in her life. Still, public pressure was different. On September 21st, 1993, she chose to speak openly in an interview with The Advocate. She said it felt freeing. She hoped it might help others who were carrying the same secret weight she once had to carry alone. By 1982, she was ready for professional work. She stepped into television with her role on All My Children, playing Amanda Cousins. The show had already become a long-running daytime hit since its debut on January 5, 1970. Working on a soap opera demanded quick thinking. Actors had to memorize new pages every day, film under tight schedules, and shift through emotional scenes without pause. For Amanda, those early days shaped her discipline. They sharpened her instincts for timing and helped her understand how television truly worked behind the scenes. Her film career began in 1984 with a small part in Protocol, a comedy led by Goldie Hawn. 1 year later, she appeared in Fraternity Vacation, acting alongside future stars like Tim Robbins and Stephen Jeffries. These roles pulled her into new spaces, letting her play with humor and youthful storylines. They also prepared her for what would soon become her breakout moment. That moment arrived in 1985 when she played Amy Peterson in Fright Night. The film opened on August 2, 1985, with a budget of USD 9,000 and grossed USD 24,922,237 in the end. Audiences connected instantly with its mix of horror and charm. Amanda's performance brought innocence and vulnerability into a story filled with fear and suspense. Director Tom Holland pushed the film beyond the usual scares, turning Amy's transformation into a memorable moment in horror history. The transformation sequence demanded long hours and uncomfortable effects. Amanda arrived at a warehouse at 4 in the morning, so technicians could apply plaster to her chest to create prosthetics. Her custom vampire contact lenses were so rigid that the first pair had to be sanded down because they scratched her eyes. Stephen Jeffries suffered temporary vision problems from his own lenses. Despite the pain, Amanda held on to her humor. Years later, in 2012, she brought those prosthetic plates to a horror convention and let fans feel them while she signed autographs. But the emotional core of Amy's story mattered just as much. When she looked at Charlie and said, "It's not my fault, Charlie. You promised you wouldn't let him get me," she revealed the human heart still trapped inside the monster. The nightclub scene where she slowly shifted from shy girl to confident woman added another layer to her transformation. Viewers could see her character changing before the fangs ever appeared. Her life intersected with another future television icon in 1987, when Amanda joined Married with Children as Marcy Rhodes. The show ran from April 5, 1987 to June 9, 1997, and Amanda appeared in all 259 episodes. She didn't just play Marcy, she directed 31 episodes as well, stepping behind the camera while still acting in front of it. The role became part of television history, and Marcy stood as a sharp, witty contrast to Al Bundy. Ed O'Neill, who played Al, eventually reached extraordinary heights financially. Though his Married with Children salary isn't fully documented, his later work on Modern Family earned him USD $500,000 per episode between 2018 and 2020, which came to about USD $12,000 per season. Over the years, he built a net worth around USD $65,000. The show's journey wasn't smooth. Even before it premiered, Fox censored a PMS joke from the pilot, breaking a promise of creative freedom. Instead of sulking, the cast celebrated with a scrotum-shaped piñata, silently declaring that they would keep pushing boundaries no matter what. That rebellious fire stayed with the series for years. In 1989, Terry Raccolta launched a national boycott after the January 15th episode, Her Cups Runneth Over. She wrote letters and warned advertisers. The controversy grew so large that politicians began paying attention. Fox responded by shifting the show to a later time slot. The result was the opposite of what Raccolta wanted. Advertisers stayed, ratings soared, and the controversy only made the show more popular. In the early seasons, Amanda and Ed O'Neill were close friends. Their scenes flowed easily because their off-camera bond helped them trust one another. Over time, that bond changed. When Amanda began directing episodes, tension rose. Their friendship faded into a working relationship. After a heated argument in the makeup room and the absence of an invitation to her wedding, the distance between them became permanent. They continued to perform together, but the warmth that once existed no longer stood behind the scenes. In 1991, something deeply personal was taken from Amanda Bearse without her consent. A tabloid decided it was their story to tell, and the Globe published that she was a lesbian. What made it cut even deeper was the timing. It landed on the exact anniversary of her brother's death. Amanda later said that morning she had already woken up thinking about him, sitting with that quiet weight. And when the story broke, it oddly did not feel random to her. She said that in the grand scheme of things, being outed did not matter as much as the meaning of the day itself. She believed it was not an accident. The press had been circling for years because of her very visible two-year relationship with Sandra Bernhard in the early 1980s. In her real life, she had never hidden who she was. Friends, co-workers, and people on set already knew. Still, having it ripped into the open like that forced her to confront how and when she would finally speak for herself. That moment quietly carried her towards September 21, 1993. On that day, Amanda made television history by appearing on the cover of The Advocate and publicly coming out on her own terms. No primetime network star had done that before. This was 4 years before Ellen DeGeneres came out in 1997. Amanda timed it carefully, choosing a release that aligned with National Coming Out Day in October, even though the magazine reached newsstands in late September. She said she hoped the interview might push someone else to step forward too. At the time, she had already spent 6 years on Fox's biggest hit, Married with Children, which had debuted in 1987 and was heading into its 9th season. Many people warned her it could end her career. Instead, it cracked open a door that had been locked for decades. Part of why the fear was so intense was because Amanda did not fit the image people expected. She was often labeled a lipstick lesbian because she was feminine, glamorous, and widely seen as attractive. On screen, she played Marcy Darcy, the confident neighbor married to Jefferson, played by Ted McGinley. The character was frequently the target of jokes about her looks and sexuality. Viewers saw a heterosexual woman who fit every traditional expectation. Behind the scenes, the reality was different, and that contrast shattered assumptions about what lesbians looked like or how they lived. Married with Children was Fox's biggest success, making Amanda a familiar face across America. Years later, she would say she embraced the word queer because of how open and inclusive it felt. But in 1993, simply existing as herself in public was already radical. What finally made staying silent impossible was motherhood. Amanda adopted her daughter Zoe with her partner Amy Schumer, and everything shifted. When she gave that Advocate interview, Zoe was 16 months old. Amanda said becoming a mother made truth non-negotiable. She described the adoption as a sacred gift and felt she could not raise a child while hiding who she was. She had chosen adoption partly because carrying a child herself could have threatened her role as the main income source for her family. She attended adoption seminars, connected deeply with Zoe's birth mother during the 6th month of pregnancy, and maintained that bond. Amanda believed it was important for a child to know where they came from and who they resembled. Once Zoe was in her arms, living openly stopped being a choice and became a responsibility. Inside Fox, panic meetings happened anyway. Executives worried about how Amanda's coming out might affect Married with Children, which had been on air since 1987 and was the network's first regular sitcom. Yet none of that anxiety ever reached her directly. She later said it never trickled down to her. Everyone on set already knew who she was and had for years. The cast and crew supported her without hesitation. The show kept going strong for 4 more years, ending in 1997 after 11 seasons and 260 episodes. Instead of collapsing, it became the longest-running live-action sitcom in Fox history. While all of this was unfolding, Amanda had already been preparing for life beyond acting. Around 1991, during season 5 of the show, she quietly began shifting toward directing. She enrolled at both the American Film Institute and the University of Southern California. Her thinking was practical. She said she was a realist and knew acting careers could vanish, so directing offered stability and anonymity. Between 1991 and 1997, she directed exactly 31 episodes of Married with Children, while appearing in all 259 episodes as Marcy. It meant learning lines, performing scenes, then stepping behind the camera in the same week to manage shots, pacing, and performances. The workload was intense, but she handled both roles without fanfare. Whenever production paused, she chased more opportunities. She directed episodes of Reba, Mad TV, where she worked for about 6 years, The Jamie Foxx Show, Veronica's Closet, Malcolm and Eddie, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, and Dharma and Greg, directing 10 episodes between 1998 and 2000. In 1999, she directed Jessie, which starred her former co-star, Christina Applegate. Later came Sabrina the Teenage Witch in 2001, the big gay sketch show across 3 seasons, and Jessie in 2011. In a male-dominated industry, she became one of the few women consistently directing sitcoms during the 1980s and 1990s. At first, she noticed something surprising. She was getting work, and no one seemed to care about her sexuality. Over time, ageism and sexism crept in, and she described being bullied by male executives while men far older continued to get hired without question. Years earlier, another moment had already fractured her trust on set. In 1989, during the 6th season of Married with Children, the show landed a coveted TV Guide cover. At the time, TV Guide sold nearly 20,000 copies a week, and being on the cover meant mainstream legitimacy. By April 1989, the show had reached a Nielsen rating of 10.0, the highest Fox had seen. The July 29th to August 4th, 1989 issue featured only Ed O'Neill, Katie Sagal, Christina Applegate, and David Faustino. Amanda and David Garrison were left out because of a strict cast limit. When Amanda found out, she and David walked out of their dressing rooms together and confronted Ed O'Neill. She asked him to go to the producers and push for all of them to be included. Ed refused, saying he did not want to risk losing the cover entirely. That moment ended their friendship. 35 years later, in January 2024, Ed O'Neill finally spoke about it on Jesse Tyler Ferguson's podcast. He called it his biggest regret. He admitted he should have handled it with diplomacy, and at least said he would try. He acknowledged that he and Amanda had been close before that day, and confirmed he wished he had stood up for her. By then, the damage had long been done. The show kept running until 1997, but that quiet fracture never healed, leaving behind a reminder that even success can carry wounds that last decades. On October 10, 2010, Amanda Bearse married her longtime partner Carrie Schenken in a quiet Vermont ceremony, a place where same-sex marriage had been legal since September 1st, 2009. The day should have been simple and joyful, yet shadows from the past followed her there. She made a choice that surprised many people who had watched her work closely with Ed O'Neill for more than a decade. She kept him off the guest list. David Faustino was left out as well. When Ed later asked why he never received an invitation, Amanda told him it was a tough call, but she worried he would not be able to take the sight of two brides in tuxedos seriously. She feared he would make small faces or find the moment funny. The conversation stayed with both of them, because it showed how far their work tensions had reached into their personal lives. Amanda wanted to protect one of the most important days of her life from anything that felt dismissive. Time moved on, but resentment never fully settled. In January 2024, Ed sat across from Jesse Tyler Ferguson on the Dinners on Me podcast and said something that stunned listeners. He admitted he had found the idea of two women in tuxedos silly back then. He even said he laughed when Amanda explained why she didn't invite him. At 77, he looked back and saw how his reaction confirmed Amanda's fear. He said he regretted it, but the regret came slowly. His comments revealed a lack of understanding that stretched far beyond a wedding and made the distance between them feel even wider. Their problems had deep roots. In 1989, the show landed a coveted TV guide cover during its 6th season, and the tension began there. Amanda and David Garrison were told they could not appear because of a supposed limit on how many cast members fit the cover. When they walked out of their dressing room and heard the news, they went straight to Ed, hoping he would speak to Ron Levitt on their behalf. They expected him to defend them. Instead, he refused. He worried that pushing back might risk the cover for everyone else. It hurt them deeply. Years later, when Ed finally admitted that choice was one of his regrets, the apology came far too late to repair the damage that had already shaped their relationship. Amanda's courage only made the fallout feel sharper. In 1993, she came out publicly in The Advocate at a time when being an openly lesbian actress in primetime was rare and dangerous for a career. She did it anyway, 4 years before Ellen DeGeneres made her own historic announcement. Amanda accepted the risks without hiding, and that bravery shaped her reputation both inside and outside the industry. Knowing all of this, her later hurt felt heavier. When Ed mocked the idea of two women wearing tuxedos, it wasn't just a joke to her. It cut into a part of her identity that she had fought to protect through judgment, stigma, and the public pressure of the 1990s. By 2018, she had learned how little good came from rehashing old wounds. At a fan convention, someone asked her about her real relationship with Ed. She looked at the crowd and asked if they were filming. Everyone knew she was choosing her words. She mentioned the thumper rule from Bambi, saying, "If you cannot say something kind, then it is better to say nothing." She left long silences between her sentences, letting the meaning fall on its own. She said Ed had not been happy near the end of the show, and that it affected everything. Then she added that there was no love lost between them. Her tone revealed the truth even more clearly than her words. She had moved on. He still carried some of the weight, but she no longer wished to untangle it. Years earlier, while their personal chemistry was breaking down, another painful imbalance sat beneath the surface. Married, with children earned more than $1,000 across its 11 seasons, from April 1987 to June 1997. Yet none of the cast except Ed received residuals. Fox was labeled a cable network at the time, so syndication money never reached the majority of the cast. In 2009, David Faustino said he got nothing from reruns. Not a dime. Meanwhile, Ed made $500,000 per episode in the final years. The financial gap widened the tension and strengthened the sense of betrayal. Because the people who had carried the show together did not benefit equally from its success. Even the ending of the show reflected how little care the cast received. On April 17, 1997, they learned of the cancellation not from Fox executives, but from strangers. Christina Applegate heard it through an acquaintance of an assistant. Ed learned it when a newlywed couple approached him outside an Ohio bed and breakfast and said they were sorry about the show ending. He didn't know what they were talking about until they explained it had been announced on the radio. Months later, a network executive finally mentioned it and promised wonderful gifts. Ed remembered how the Golden Girls received Mercedes-Benz cars and laughed at the difference. Amanda carried her own truth about the show. She called it misogynistic in a 2022 interview and said some episodes were so inappropriate she believed the series would not be produced today. Katie Sagal agreed in 2017, saying the women on the show were routinely exploited. Amanda knew the tone was mean-spirited and objectified women, including herself and Christina Applegate, who was only 15 when the show began. These memories added to the long list of reasons she kept distance from the cast long after the cameras stopped rolling. The atmosphere on set was not always safe or respectful. David Faustino once described how the show's creators invited porn actresses onto the set for shock value. Terry Weigel, who later became the first Playboy playmate to transition into adult films, frequently visited and behaved in ways that would never be tolerated today. Faustino recalled her putting his head under her shirt when he was only 15. The studio audience often reacted with such loud cheering at female guest stars that filming had to stop until the noise settled. Christina Applegate, barely out of childhood, was sexualized from her first appearance on screen, something that would raise alarms immediately in today's standards. Chaos was part of the production's history, and Sam Kinison brought it to another level when he guest starred. His first day included mooning the cast and crew. The next day, he apologized by sending strippers to serve lunch. Later, he waved a gun during a confrontation with director Jerry Cohen. Stories like these showed how volatile the set could be. It added context to why certain cast members eventually guarded their boundaries so tightly. Years after the show ended, Ed stepped onto a different path, one that changed him from the inside out. In 1991, his friend John Milius introduced him to Rorion Gracie and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Ed did not know then that this moment would reshape his life. Rorion weighed about 175 pounds. Ed weighed around 230. Yet, during Ed's first lesson, a 75-pound fighter sat on his chest, and he could not move him at all. He tried again. Nothing. Then Rorion asked if he could hold him down for 3 seconds. Ed failed that too. The experience humbled him so deeply that he decided to learn everything he could. Training soon became his anchor. For 16 years, from 1991 to 2007, Ed trained once or twice a week. These were mostly private lessons with Rorion himself, even while Ed filmed hundreds of episodes of Married with Children. He stayed committed through exhaustion and long shooting days. He studied leverage, positioning, breath control, and patience. In December 2007, at age 61, he earned his black belt. He later said it was the greatest achievement of his life outside of his children. That level of dedication made his earlier choices about Amanda stand out even more. He could give his full heart to a martial art for 16 straight years, yet he could not speak up for her during a single TV guide cover dispute. The old patterns continued to echo into the present. On October 28, 2025, an announcement revealed a major reunion scheduled for January 28, 2026 at the Wiltern Theater. The event promised unseen stories and heartfelt moments. Tickets went on sale 2 days later. The money would support Christina Applegate's charity race to erase MS. Fans were excited, remembering how the full cast had not appeared together in more than a decade. But when the list of attending cast members came out, Amanda's name was missing. She had acted in 259 episodes, directed 31 of them, and appeared in every season. Her absence instantly reminded people of past wounds. There was no statement from her. Silence can speak louder than words. The exclusion felt eerily familiar. Back in 1989, she had been left off the TV Guide cover. Now, 37 years later, history seemed to repeat itself. It made everything that had happened between them feel like a circle that never fully closed. It showed that time had moved forward, but some fractures had stayed exactly where they were.